Welcome to Rappahannock Issues. I'm Tom Cohen.
And I'm David Kerr.
And we're going to be looking at topics that are of interest to our community, both regionally and to the state.
Hello and welcome to Rappahannock Issues. I'm David Kerr, and we're continuing our series on the presidential campaign, looking at both the Republicans and the Democrats in advance of the March 1st primary. And of course, this is valuable going into November as well. We have had candidates for the Republican nomination on, and today we're very fortunate to have a representative from the Clinton for President campaign in a unique way. We were speaking with specific spokesmen for the campaigns in the Republican sections. The Clinton campaign wanted to have us talk to somebody who is supporting Secretary Clinton for the nomination, but not necessarily a campaign spokesman. And this is very much a kind of citizen interview, talking with a gentleman of considerable reputation and credentials, and who has chosen to support Secretary Clinton in the race for president. And we have with us Colonel, retired, B.J. Thornburg. He is a local Fredericksburg businessman.
Yes.
And very interesting background in the military. And I'm sorry, sir, I would really like to ask you to, we were talking a little bit off screen. I'd like for you to share a little of your...
Well, I was, when I retired from the Army in January of 2000. And at the time that I retired from the Army, I was one of 2 or 3 remaining draftees still on active duty. The other one of note, certainly a lot more note as a sergeant major of the Army than I was as a colonel, was still on active duty, and in my understanding, he was the last Army soldier to retire who was a Vietnam draftee. So I have been affiliated with the Army specifically and the Department of Defense and National Security since about 1968. So that sort of dates me a little bit.
Well, you know, it's not hard to get dated in that regard. You also are working as a private businessman now.
Yes.
So yes. You're very active.
When I retired, everybody asked me, you know, what are you gonna do when you retire? And I said, well, I don't think I want to be one of those Beltway bandits or one of those slimy contractors. I think what I want to do is become a Parkway patriot. So I like to refer to myself and my small business as Parkway patriot.
Well, that's great, Colonel, and we're certainly glad you took the time to join us today. You're a veteran supporting Hillary Clinton, and of course, just a regular citizen supporting Hillary Clinton. Could you tell us why?
Yeah, I have several reasons that played into my decision and into my analysis of the various candidates. First of all, I first became aware of Hillary when I was shortly after I retired, I was a contractor, and part of my job was to watch C-SPAN and stay up with what the issues were with national security and the Defense Department. And as I watched these hearings on the C-SPAN from the SASC and the HASC, it became kind of evident that...
Real quick, those are the Senate Armed Services Committee and the House Armed Services Committee.
Right.
Sorry.
We in the military are big on acronyms.
I've heard.
Yeah. And I do apologize.
But, no, sir, don't worry.
But most of the legislators, when they would go into those hearings, they would have a good first question and often a good second question because their staffs had researched them properly and had given them that information. But by the time they got past that second question, they typically would revert to party line or personal agendas rather than really digging deeper into the issue. And along came the junior senator from New York, who was what do they like to call them? Typically they refer to them as tokens, more or less, because of her background as being First Lady and et cetera. But along came this junior senator from New York, And she, all of a sudden, I'm watching, and she's digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and actually got to the point where the testimonials being given by the Defense Department had to say, we'll have to take that under consideration and get back to you, because they couldn't keep up with her. She knew the issues, she knew the challenges, and she knew how to get to the bottom line of what the real issue was. One of the hearings of interest was dealing with torturing of the Iraqi and the terrorists that were in captivity. And she supported John McCain, who was the Republican chair at the time, tremendously. And he even today will tell you that she surprised even him by being such a strong supporter and such a valued asset on the SASC committee. So she impressed me with that, and I said, nah, that can't be true. That's got to be a fluke of some sort. So I watched her again and again and again, and every time she would come into those hearings, she just would take them to task. And never once did I see her revert back to party line or personal agendas. So that was the big thing that won me over. And then, of course, her time with charity organizations and women's issues and children's issues just sold me and convinced me that she's the right person.
Oh, and in that regard, we're talking some about her experience. How about her time as Secretary of State?
Yeah, I mean, clearly as the Secretary of State, she was one of the few Secretaries of State who really got the issue of national security greater than just the State Department. She adopted a policy of smart power, which was an approach to U.S. participation through two issues. One is diplomacy, interagency interactions, and partnerships with other countries, plus a strong military backbone. So hard power and soft power, and she adopted that throughout the methods and throughout the policies that she established in the State Department. And as a matter of fact, she was responsible for implementing some of the most stringent restrictions on Iran existing. So she clearly gets what the issues are, and has ways, plans, and solutions.
That's fascinating. We're going to be back and we'll talk a little about the campaign, what's happening next in the qualifications. And we'll be right back on Rappahannock Issues.